And this more meaning that these cars all have a different variance between how this car really works. All the cars have a differentiation, so how the car really works, and you have to be very careful that you know exactly how to this car making themselves as work in the best possible way, because there are so many possibilities. And then there are of course the radiator side. What kind of the side beds you have, what kind of the radiator. There are different radiators through the years, through the championship, the cars what you're driving. And usually you have a side pods. The biggest are the radiator to engine. Engine usually need the air to just simple the engine getting booster, and also to getting a gulf there to ventilate it out of the car, to getting just as an exhaust and radiation nuclear. And meaning more higher you have, also it's more the track towards the car, and the smaller. So in the racing car, it has to be understood in the long races when the engine will have a more stress and more longer the distance and the race, the time in the stress component the engine. If you want a more reality, you will be also less go to RPM, but it's in the chair setting. But also meaning that the more the radiator bigger size, the more air intake you have inside your car, or the engine ways when you try taking inside. That's pretty simple. Yes, and the bracing. There's also alteration to cars that the wing and frame. So the very quick circuit like ovals, you have a very small wings in the both sides. If it's just the cars, the tracks are just straight, you just strip off the whole wings off. And this very slow car tracks, there are a lot of different variants. Some say like Monte Carlo, Long Beaches, and this kind of street circuits have a very, you need a lot they have in a big to the grid is the most important thing there, so the tires will be very soft, but it's also important to have into the slowing down heavily, so you need also the track, so the downforce very heavily, and also the slow track which have a lot the over medium speed corners. And this kind of the corners you absolutely are the most intricate driving. So let's take the Mexico City track here. We are driving the city, and then it starts the one of the other points going. It's a full cars, more full have more heavier cars, So it's gonna depend. If you're going to access, you qualify a lap to try, you're getting a less full and then carry the full. So the different cars have a different size of the full tank, and if you some interest rate might have a very high access. And it's one of the what is the full consumption? Consumption of the full is one of the main factor. What is going to depend on the how long you are needed to the one set of the car tracking. If you are going to example the one phase to drive in some 10 laps in 10 minutes, which is some qualifying section, or some very small and very quick races that you're going to drive it. It's going to also mean that you need that much of the even the consumption with very fast circuit. It is higher usually, because the more longer your car is acceleration, and more you need power to the carrying on against the track, and that means more power you need, more also your engine is consumption. And that's meaning a lot of races have the banned example to refueling. Refueling is very important factor into longer races, making sure that you can drive the races in the less fuel and less weight, and that means that also the car is have a much quicker lap times, but your overall the strategically are much more. And of course, if the fuel tank are not that effective and the high consumption of fuel, you're anyway going to need it at last refueling in the sound part and the point of the races. And then there are the gear. Transmission of the car is one of the important factor how to making the car. And what is the transmission here? We see the transmission in the cars. We have a different amount of gears. In the usually motorsport car will have been debated a lot. Some have a 2 gears, a very small form, but in this kind of the big car, an F1 car have a 6 or 7 gear plus a reverse. So they have a different values. They are usually measured how much of the something. So usually 30, 34 is the first and highest gear in a number. So you get in that the highest number usually is the lowest. What is the ratio? So there are always some kind of ratio. You have a biggest number usually on the smallest gear, and higher gear you have a lowest total ratio number. It's always a calculated ratio number. So then you have an engine rep limit. How many RPM and rep ratio per minute you have the engine to make whole totally. And that will mean in the more higher you have it, more power the engine product and more powerful you're going to front station. It's a very pop. The car also have a different system like a differential power. A differential is the one of the thing in the car with the braking. Differential pump and differential power is easier of the cars to make it the real and live wheel are adjusted the balance. So if some you need a more power control, you adjust more differential stiffer it is, but also you add more and power both sides, and you have to balance it depending on the track. If you have slow corners, perhaps in the front, if it's oversteering, you can balance the over or understeering. Under power steering is always problematic, but the ideal is always having ideal condition every single corner you are driving. That you never are going there, but you're always in the best possible way to get in the best out of your car. And this is usually the very big trouble on the racing cars, that you're always very active to develop the oversteering on the condition and the places you're never the most are looking for. So the differential pump, so you get more power, you get a differential power. Then there is a differential cost, how many percentage, 0 to 100. And the hero wings we have a 1 to 50 different to the wing level. Under all bars we have at the LPF, how much we can underroll and do exercise the car does it. Under all bars are not in a racing car depending on the track so important. It depends a lot. Under all bar most important is to making a roll of the cars, because the car are never supposed to roll over itself, and the car is usually just going straight forward on the idle line, and the rolling is a trouble when the car have an elevation or some cornering technical. So that meaning that depending on of the side of the car, or front or a rear, you just making sure that the car doesn't roll itself. It's one of the other taking the balance of the car. You see the front have a more depending on the distance to the sensor and the tires, so it's very much and that's depending. So you have very much easy now to understand into the most important set of the car, what is it taking hybrid rating. So that means that there are different sides and the system, and understanding it's a lot the suspense you play, understanding getting the suspense you're working on the way you're looking for. But when it's just big as once you're working on the way you visited for already, then you're ready to racing, and the racing is really the place. So you add more camper to then making more negative camper, just to make sure that the front it can be to the -0 to the -5 degree total anchor. Tire pressure is a PSI, or the equivalent the European metric unit. So the more tire pressure and more pressure you have, and it can be always a difference between the front or rear, the right high less the right spring rate higher, spring rate and less the height right. You go to be ready to size stereo lock. The higher stereo lock. Stereo lock is the one that is something, and it's something very where you need very less, like the overall circuit you want less, but in the street circuit you want a high rate, so it can be in the street circuit 5 and something like a 25-30 degree if it's allowed, and some 50 to 80 degree, and some very quick circuit, very oval circuit, or very not much of the hairpins where you need in one moment very much amount to make it a steering. It's just a car to get the best possible way returning. That's a pretty simple operation under all bars, and there are when you have played with it through these old settings, we can understand it that the winning cars really need a lot to compensate for the differentiation, not playing with all the different system and rules and so boring, but just getting the ideal condition to car. Let's see, it was a good idea. Now it's time for the racing. You set to a lot of different variations. Yes, this trail line is pretty much still the same.